So November of 2012, I got a cold email from, uh, yeah, it was unbranded, but it was somebody asking me about, if I would be willing to hop on a call because they wanted to learn more about private practice, PT. And I said, well, at first I said no. And then eventually I said, yeah, I'll hop on. But here's the deal. I'm only willing to give you 15 minutes. And if you like try to sell me anything or I feel uncomfortable, you just need to know I'm going to hang up. And they said, fine, like we have nothing to sell. And I was like, all right, I'll hop on this call. And that call was with Carl Mattiola, who today is the CEO of Breakthrough. And I didn't know this at the time, but Carl was living in San Francisco. When we hopped on that phone call, he was the head of online sales at Tesla Motors. And he had a pretty cool story and was doing some things that I had never seen before. He also had there's a little bit of a tie. He grew up here in Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half east of where I grew up in Harrisburg, Hershey. Carl's from the greater Philadelphia area, Phoenixville. And anyhow, so what happened during that call? I hopped on and he just started asking questions about my private practice and really the struggles that I was going through. And yeah, we were a few minutes in, maybe 4 or 5 minutes in, and I said, "Hey, man, like, what is going on here? Nobody's ever asked me these questions. What are you doing?" And I said, What are you going to sell me?" And he said, "I don't have anything to sell yet." He said, "I work at Tesla. Every morning I get up at 6 a.m. and I interview private practice owners for 2 hours, and then I go into work." And I said, "How did you find me?" And ultimately, I asked, "What number am I?" And he said, "Your number is 17." And he said, "So here's how I found you. I did a a video screenshot. I made a video of me using Google Earth to find private practice owners. And then I hired 3 VAs. I believe it was in Malaysia. And after 1 week, whoever produced the best list and was able to run my emails. So he was using a virtual assistant back in 2012. Whoever does this the best, that's who I hired. And now every morning when I wake up at 6 a.m., I have a list of people to follow up with and these phone calls to complete. And I said, "Well, what are you trying to do?" And he said, "Well, when I was playing football in college at LaSalle University, I was a linebacker and I had a shoulder injury. And when I went to the surgeon said that I absolutely needed surgery and my playing career was likely over. And luckily, somebody else told me to use physical therapy, and I went to PT. And I was able to rehab my shoulder, return that season, and I never had the surgery." And he said, "It was a life-changing experience for me. So as I'm going through this other business class, it was called the Foundation, but as I was going through this business class, I wanted to figure out how to use my skill set as a software developer within PT." And I was like, "Man, this is unreal. There's nothing like this in Harrisburg." And then what I learned later on, so that was the very beginning. And what ended up coming from that is Carl ended up building a software from interviewing 300 plus private practice owners. And it was really a metrics dashboard and statistics input system around the private practice dashboard with KPIs and metrics and statistics and a graphing mechanism. And that company became Clinic Metrics. And along the way, we just had kept in contact. And what ended up happening is he had asked for referrals to other private practice owners who might need a system. And I made 10 single introductions to private practice owners. And some of those ended up being the first customers of Clinic Metrics. So that was the very beginning.